Have you ever felt like you didn't belong, even in a place full of people who care about you? Have you carried a vision inside you that others just couldn't understand? And have you ever asked yourself, why does this path feel so lonely? If so, maybe you've been chosen. There's something profound about being called, something sacred about being chosen that many people don't fully grasp. When you are set apart for a purpose greater than yourself, it comes with a weight that few will ever understand. The chosen don't walk the same road as everyone else. Their path is different, and often it's a lonely one. When God calls you, He doesn't send you down the easy route. He doesn't place you in the comfort of the crowd where you can blend in and go unnoticed. No, He pulls you out. He sets you apart. And that separation can feel like isolation, like rejection, like you're standing in a room full of people and still feel invisible. But listen closely. You were never meant to fit in with the place you were called to lead. There's a burden that comes with being chosen. It changes the way you see. It changes what you hear. It places a fire inside of you that others cannot comprehend. You'll try to explain it and they'll look at you like you're speaking a foreign language. You'll want to bring them along, but they won't want to follow. And that's where the pain sets in. Because being chosen doesn't just set you apart from the world, it often separates you from the people you love most. Some of you know this all too well. You've sat in rooms surrounded by people and still felt unseen. You've stood among friends and family and felt an ache deep inside, because somewhere in your spirit, you know you were made for something else. And I need you to understand this. That ache isn't a mistake. That loneliness isn't an accident. It's a sign. A sign that God is doing something in you that He's not doing in everyone else. When you are chosen, you can't live like everyone else. You can't think like everyone else. And you certainly can't move like everyone else. That's why you don't fit in. That's why you struggle to relate. It's not because something is wrong with you, it's because something is different about you. God has planted something inside of you that requires separation. Because what He's building in you requires focus, it requires discipline, it requires obedience, and yes, it requires that you let go of the need to be understood. Look at the great men and women of God. Moses was raised in Pharaoh's palace, but never truly belonged there. Joseph was given a dream, but betrayed by his own brothers. David was anointed king, but sent back to the fields again and again. Separation comes before elevation. Isolation comes before the calling. And yes, pain is part of the process. The pattern has always been the same before the chosen can step into their destiny. They must walk through the wilderness of being set apart. And that wilderness, that loneliness, it breaks you, it humbles you, it brings you face down before God. But that breaking isn't punishment, it's preparation. Because when God is getting you ready, He has to remove everything that cannot go with you. The relationships that were only meant for a season, the habits that no longer serve His purpose, the distractions that drown out His voice. And sometimes the only way He can do that is to pull you away from everything and everyone you thought you couldn't live without. I know it's hard. I know there are nights when you cry out to God asking why the weight feels so heavy. I know there are moments when you feel like quitting when the thought creeps in. Maybe I'm just not strong enough for this. But I came to tell you, you were built for this. You were chosen for this. And if God called you to it, He will give you the strength to walk through it. This loneliness you feel, it's not the end of your story, it's the beginning. It's the refining fire that purifies your calling. It's the sacred space where God's voice speaks the clearest. It's the hidden place where He molds you, strengthens you, and prepares you for a purpose beyond what your eyes can see. So don't fight it. Don't resist it. Embrace it. Because when the moment comes when God says, now is the time, and you step into the fullness of your calling, you will look back and see that the loneliness wasn't loneliness at all. It was God walking with you, shaping you, refining you, so that when He sends you out, you will be ready. Rejection? Oh, it cuts deep. It doesn't just sting your heart, it shakes your soul. It makes you question your worth, your calling, your strength. You step out in faith, believing people will recognize the gift God placed inside you, that they will support you, stand with you, but instead they walk away. They turn their backs. They dismiss you. And that pain, it's real, it's raw. But hear me, rejection is not punishment, it is preparation. It's not God saying you're not good enough. It's God saying you're being set apart. Too often we internalize rejection. We let it convince us we've failed, that we're unwanted, unworthy. But when God allows rejection, it's because He is redirecting you. He is protecting you. He is ensuring that you don't settle for something less than the purpose He has placed over your life. Take Joseph, for example. His own brothers rejected him, threw him in a pit, sold him into slavery. He carried a dream, a vision of what God would do through him. But before he could step into that destiny, he had to walk through the fire of rejection. If his brothers had accepted him, he might have stayed where he was. If they had embraced him, he might have never been pushed onto the path that led him to Egypt, to the palace, to the position God had already prepared for him. We've seen that rejection is often God's way of redirection, closing one door to guide us to something better. But what happens when the ones who walk away are the very people you thought would walk with you? Sometimes the people you expect to support you are the very ones who push you away. They don't see what you see. They don't feel what you feel. And in that moment of isolation, you may feel tempted to shrink back, to lower your standards, to downplay your calling, just so you can be accepted. But hear this clearly. God didn't call you to be accepted. He called you to be set apart. He called you to rise above, to stand firm where others walk away, to lead boldly where others hesitate. That means rejection. It's not something you need to fear. It's something you need to learn to embrace. When people reject you, don't waste time chasing them down, trying to make them see your worth. Don't sit around mourning closed doors. Because if God allowed that door to close, you can be sure He has something greater waiting on the other side. You may not see it right now. You might not understand it yet. But if you keep trusting, if you keep walking in faith, if you keep believing, then one day you'll look back and realize every rejection was a stepping stone toward a better yes. Some of you are still clinging to the sting of rejection. You're still replaying the conversations, still mourning the people who left, still letting the voices of others define your value. But listen to me, your worth is not based on who walked away. Your calling is not canceled just because someone didn't recognize it. If God called you, that's all the confirmation you'll ever need. If He chose you, no amount of rejection can undo what He has ordained. You have to shift your perspective. Stop seeing rejection as failure. Start seeing it as a sign that God is actively working in your life. He's closing doors that no longer belong in your future. He's removing people who cannot carry the weight of where you're going. He's protecting you from settling for something far less than what He's planned. Even Jesus Himself faced rejection. He was despised, mocked, betrayed, not by strangers, but by the very people He came to save. He was denied by those closest to Him. And yet He never let rejection derail His purpose. If Jesus, the Son of God, had to walk through rejection, why should we expect to be embraced at every turn? Why do we assume that being chosen means we'll always be welcomed? The truth is, the greater the calling, the greater the rejection. The higher the purpose, the lonelier the road. But here's what you need to understand. Rejection is not the end of your story. It's a necessary part of your becoming. It's shaping you, refining you, preparing you to carry the weight of what's ahead. And when the time comes, when you finally step into what God has been preparing all along, you'll look back and realize that every no was actually God's way of saying, I've got something better. You'll see, He was always in control, always leading you, always positioning you for something bigger than you imagined. Now that you've begun to see rejection as divine redirection, there's a deeper truth you need to embrace. God never elevates without first preparing, and that preparation often comes through pain. So the next time you face rejection, don't fall apart. Don't beg for approval. Stand tall. Lift your head high. And remind yourself, you were never meant to fit in. You were created to stand out. And with every rejection, God is pushing you one step closer to your purpose. There comes a moment in every believer's journey where you realize something life-altering. Before God lifts you up, He allows you to be broken. But it's not the kind of breaking that destroys you. It's the kind that strips away what can't go with you into the next season. The kind that purifies, that humbles, that prepares. Because God never promotes without a process. And that process is rarely painless. Many people assume that being chosen by God means an easy life free from struggle. But look closely at anyone God has ever used, and you'll see the same pattern emerge. Before the promotion, there is separation. Before the breakthrough, there is heartbreak. Before the crown, there is crushing. And in that crushing, everything feels like it's falling apart. What once felt secure begins to shake. The things you thought were stable start slipping through your hands. You cry out to God, "Why so much pain when all I've done is try to follow you?" But here's the thing about being chosen. You're being prepared for something others could never carry. You're going through what others won't because you're being called to what others can't. When God places a high calling on your life, He cannot let you walk into it unprepared. He can't allow pride, bitterness, unforgiveness, or dependence on people to come with you. So He allows the breaking, not because He's cruel, but because what He's preparing you for is too great for who you are right now. Look at David, anointed to be king while still a young man. The calling was clear, the oil was poured, but before he ever sat on a throne, he had to run for his life. He hid in caves. He was betrayed by the very people he had once fought for. Yes, he was chosen, but he wasn't ready yet. He had the anointing, but he still needed the process. And the process, it was painful. Some of you are in that process right now. You're in the middle of the breaking, and you don't understand why. Doors are closing, relationships are ending. Even the things you prayed for are slipping through your fingers. And you're asking God, why me? Why this? Why now? And here's the answer, simple but powerful. Because He's making you into the person you were always meant to become. Now that we understand how breaking is the start of becoming, it's time to look at the refining process itself. The one where pressure, fire, and isolation draw out what God placed deep within you. Gold is refined in fire. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Olive oil only flows when the olive is crushed. And you, with everything God has planted inside you, are no different. The dreams He gave you, the purpose He placed in your spirit, the strength He knows is buried within. All of it must be drawn out, and that doesn't happen in comfort. It doesn't happen when everything is smooth and easy. It happens in the moments when you're on your knees, when you have nothing left to hold on to but God Himself. When every earthly thing has failed you and all you have left is His word and His presence. You may not see it right now, but a day will come when you look back and thank Him for the breaking. You'll realize that every tear, every heartbreak, every painful no was never working against you. It was working for you. You'll see that what you thought was rejection was actually protection. What you thought was suffering was actually preparation. What you thought was the end was actually the beginning of who you were always meant to become. So don't resist the process. Don't rush the healing. Let God finish what He started. Let Him strip away what no longer serves your calling. Let Him remove the distractions, the unhealthy attachments, the hidden weights that are keeping you from stepping fully into His plan. Yes, it will hurt. Yes, it may feel unfair, but when He's done with you, you'll be stronger. You'll be wiser. You'll be unshakable. And when the moment of elevation arrives, you will be ready. When God sets you apart, He doesn't always make it obvious. There may not be lightning bolts or angel choirs. Instead, He does something far more subtle and far more powerful. He makes you different. And for a long time, you might not even understand why. You just know that you don't fit. You're in a room full of people but feel like you're walking a different path. You get opportunities, but deep down you know that's not for me. You build relationships, but they never seem to last. And eventually you start asking, why? Why don't I belong? Why does my path look so different from everyone else's? The answer is simple. Because you were never meant to blend in. You were never meant to fit into a space you've outgrown. You were never created to live like everyone else, because the calling on your life isn't like everyone else's. There is something about you that God has set apart, something destined for a purpose, far greater than what you can currently see. And that kind of purpose requires a different path. It requires a process that most people will never understand. There is a weight that comes with being chosen, a loneliness that often walks beside purpose. And if you're not careful, you'll begin to resent the very thing that makes you unique. You'll start to see your difference as a burden instead of a blessing. You'll begin to think something is wrong with you because you don't think like them, you don't move like them, and you certainly don't settle like them. Let me tell you something important. Something you need to hold on to, especially when the road gets hard. Being different is not a curse. It is not something to run from, hide, or be ashamed of. It is evidence. Proof that God's hand is on your life. It's the mark of someone being called higher, of someone being prepared for something greater, something that demands separation, that requires refinement. But this process, it's not easy. Being set apart means you will lose people along the way. It means there will be seasons of isolation where no one seems to understand you, not even those closest to you. It means walking through doors alone, unsure of what's on the other side, yet choosing to trust that if God brought you to it, He'll walk you through it. It means making decisions that don't make sense to the world. Decisions that cost you comfort, reputation, relationships, but are rooted in faith. They require obedience. They require sacrifice. And sometimes they require silence, because what God is doing in you is between you and Him. Look at Moses. He was raised in Pharaoh's palace. Luxury, status, security, everything most people chase. He could have stayed and lived a comfortable, predictable life. But deep within, he knew he didn't belong. Because when God calls you higher, you begin to feel unsettled where others feel at home. That calling pulled Moses out of the palace and into the wilderness, into a season of total isolation. No wealth, no title, no crowd. Just Moses and God. But in that barren place where there was nothing left to rely on, God was doing the real work. He was preparing the man who would one day lead a nation. And some of you, you're in that same wilderness right now. You feel like everything familiar has been stripped away. You're walking roads no one else around you seems to understand. And the enemy whispers, "You missed it. You messed up. God must be punishing you." But listen closely, this is not punishment, this is preparation. God isn't isolating you to harm you. He's setting you apart so He can build something unshakable within you. He's teaching you how to depend on Him when nothing else makes sense. He's showing you how to walk by faith, not by sight. And though the path may seem invisible now, He sees the destination clearly. And when the time comes, and it will come when He finally reveals what He's been shaping you for, you'll look back and understand. Every lonely moment, every hard choice, every time you felt out of place, it was all necessary. You'll realize that He never left you. He wasn't ignoring you. He was forming you. He was creating someone strong enough to carry the calling. But here's something you may not expect. Being chosen puts a target on your back. The moment God marks your life, the moment you're set apart, the battle begins. And for many of you, that battle started early. It feels like you've had to fight for everything. Your peace, your purpose, even your sense of identity. It's not that you went looking for the fight. It's that the fight came looking for you. And you wonder, why? Why has your life felt like one long battle? Why does pain seem to visit your door more often than peace? Why does it feel like loss, betrayal, and rejection are written into your story? And if you're being honest, really honest, you've asked the question no one wants to admit. Is this even worth it? Now that you understand your isolation was preparation, not punishment, it's time to look even deeper. Because what you're fighting right now is not a coincidence. The very battle you're in is confirmation. of the calling that's on your life. But hear me when I say this. The attack on your life is proof of the anointing on your life. The enemy doesn't target what isn't a threat. He's not wasting his energy on people with no purpose, no assignment, no spiritual weight. No, he comes after those who carry the mark of God, those who are dangerous to his kingdom of darkness, and that's why the battle has felt so intense. That's why you faced resistance that seems relentless. That's why you've walked through seasons that should have broken you but didn't. Because the enemy sees what's inside of you, even when you don't see it yourself. He knows what you're carrying. He knows the damage you'll do to his plans once you step into your purpose. And so he strikes early, he strikes hard, and he strikes often. Look at Joseph. He was given a dream from God, a vision of leadership, of influence, of destiny. But before the dream became reality, he was thrown into a pit, betrayed by his own brothers. He was sold into slavery, falsely accused, imprisoned, forgotten. To anyone watching from the outside, it looked like his life was falling apart. But from heaven's perspective, everything was falling into place. Every trial, every betrayal, every dark season. It was all part of God's preparation for the position he had already prepared. And many of you are living in that same place right now. You're in the pit. You're in the pressure. You're looking around at your life, at the battles, the setbacks, the attacks, and you're asking, how could this possibly be part of God's plan? But what you can't yet see is what God is doing behind the scenes. You don't see the training that's happening. You don't see how the very things that were meant to break you are building you. How the trials that were supposed to destroy you are developing the strength and character you'll need to carry the weight of your assignment. Because here's the truth. God doesn't call the untested. He doesn't hand responsibility to those who haven't been refined. So he allows the struggle not to defeat you, but to equip you. He permits the battle not to crush you, but to condition you. If you're going to walk in your calling, you need to be strong enough to stand alone, wise enough to see through distractions, resilient enough to keep moving when quitting feels easier. That's why the enemy has fought you so hard. That's why the pressure has been so heavy. Because he knows once you rise into who you were created to be, once you understand the authority God placed inside you, there's nothing he can do to stop you. He can attack, but he can't overcome. He can delay, but he can't deny what God has declared. He can distract, but he can't destroy what heaven has authored. So don't let the fight make you bitter. Don't let the warfare make you question your worth. Every battle, every hardship, every setback is confirmation that you are chosen, that you are called, that heaven's fingerprint is on your life. You will come out stronger, wiser, more grounded, more prepared for everything God has already promised you. Yes, the process is painful. Yes, the battle is real, but victory is already yours. Not because the fight isn't hard, but because God has already declared the outcome. So keep fighting, keep standing, keep moving forward, even if your knees shake, even if your voice trembles, because God hasn't just prepared a path for you. He's preparing you for the path. And that kind of preparation, it rarely looks like what we expect. It's not convenient. It's not always beautiful. And almost never would we choose it for ourselves. Because being chosen doesn't mean everything flows easily. It doesn't mean every door opens without resistance. It doesn't mean everyone will see your worth or that the road ahead will always feel secure. Sometimes being chosen means walking alone. It means standing firm when others walk away. It means being rejected by the very people you once believed would always support you. It means navigating storms you didn't see coming and fighting battles you never thought you'd have to face. And in those moments, in the silence, in the rejection, in the pain, you might start to question, am I really called? Because in our minds we think, if God had truly chosen me, wouldn't the road be smoother? Wouldn't the right people stand with me? Wouldn't the opportunities align the resistance, lift the weight, get lighter? But what if the struggle is actually the evidence? What if the loneliness is part of the process? What if the breaking is where the making begins? Think of David. When the prophet came to anoint a king, David wasn't even invited to the lineup. He was a boy in a field, forgotten by his family, unseen by the world, but seen by God. And even after the anointing oil was poured, even after the call was confirmed, his life didn't get easier. It got harder. He had to run for his life. He hid in caves. He was betrayed, misunderstood, rejected. He faced giants, literal and spiritual. He fought battles he never signed up for. But all of it, every night he cried out alone, every season that felt unfair. Every moment of silence was shaping him into the king he was destined to become. And some of you, you're there right now. You feel cast aside. You feel like you've been faithful but forgotten. You've been obedient yet overlooked. You've prayed, yet the doors remain closed. And you're wondering, how much longer? Do I have the strength to keep going? But hear this. Just because you don't see the promise yet doesn't mean it's not coming. Just because you're in the wilderness doesn't mean you've lost your way. God is not punishing you, He is preparing you. He is strengthening you in the silence. He is building your character in the hidden places. He is teaching you to trust Him, not when everything makes sense, but when He's all you have left to hold on to. You may not see the full picture now, but trust this. Every tear, every delay, every quiet season has been preparing you. And when the moment comes, and it will come, you won't just step into your calling, you'll step in unshakable. Because when God finally brings you into what He's been preparing you for, you won't arrive fragile, uncertain, or confused. You'll arrive strong. You'll arrive anchored. You'll arrive refined by the fire, built by the breaking, strengthened by the silence. But here's the truth. Not everyone will understand your process. Not everyone will see the hand of God on your life. Some will question you. Some will criticize you. And yes, some will walk away. Not because there's something wrong with you, but because they can't see what God is doing within you. But hear me. Don't let their misunderstanding make you question what God has already confirmed. Don't let their absence make you forget His presence. Don't let the noise of their doubts drown out the whisper of His promise. If people walk away, let them go. If doors shut, don't force them back open. If the road gets rough, remember it's because what God is building in you is bigger than you think. Because the truth is, the chosen ones always carry the heaviest weight. They face the fiercest warfare. But they also walk in the greatest authority. They are trusted with more because they have been tested more. When you've walked through the fire and still stood firm, when you've been pressed on every side and still chosen obedience, when you've stood in the valley and refused to let go of your faith, nothing can shake you. Not rejection, not delays, not even fear, because you know who you are. And even more importantly, you know whose you are. So don't grow weary. Don't let the process blur your vision. Don't let the weight cause you to lose sight of the promise. Keep walking. Keep trusting. Keep believing. Because what God has spoken over your life will not return void. And when the time is right, when the preparation is complete, when the refining is finished, nothing on this earth will be able to stop what He has ordained for you. So stay faithful, stay strong, stay rooted, because your time is coming. And when that moment arrives, when you finally step into the fullness of your calling, it won't just be about you, it will be about the lives your obedience will impact.